What I want to do here is show you a really efficient way of creating these edits. If you follow these steps and these processes and the theory behind the way it works, use some of the shortcuts that we've created, you should find that the edit will go together fairly easily. It shouldn't take that long, and once you get the hang of it, this is actually a really great way to edit films. The first step in this process is going to be to go into the 2014 video folder within the FTP. We would have sent you the credentials to download all the files off the FTP server, so once you open it up, you should see the 2014 video folder, and within that you're going to see a project called Coots. This is the one we're going to work on here today, just to sort of look it over. But inside the Coots project, there's going to be the audio file, the project file, as well as all the movie files that go into it. We're looking for the project file and to open it and relink all the files. So what we're going to do here is open this project. So this didn't require any linking, but if you've used Premiere Pro before, you know what it looks like when it needs relinking of the files. You just simply go in and link media, it'll ask you where the files are, you point it out. If you have any trouble with that, you probably shouldn't be editing video. If you have any issues with it, look it up on YouTube, but anyway, linking the media to get it back linked up again. The one thing you want to be watching out for is in the bottom right hand corner, there's a section called generating previews, so basically generating peak files. Let that go before you start doing any editing, okay? So what you should see when you look in here, and getting around this project is going to be the first thing, the most important thing for you. What you'll notice here is that there's a bunch of folders: audio, bride prep, groom prep, first look, ceremony, etc., the whole thing, right? These are where all of the files are stored, the movie files, and they're broken up into all these sections so that if you ever needed to go find a file, this is where you'd find them. In the audio sections, all of the clean audio that we've recorded for each of the things that are there. You may or may not ever need to go into these files to go grab anything, because everything has already been selected for you. You've already been selected all of the best coverage of all the things, so this should be a pretty easy setup. What you really want to be paying attention to is the sequences folder. And within the sequences folder, you're going to find all the sequences, including the ceremony, bride prep, groom prep, intros, first dance, speeches, cake cutting, etc., etc. Okay? Really pay attention here. This ceremony, intros, cake cutting, parent dances, okay, these things right here, you don't necessarily need these. You actually want to go to the synced folder for these. These are the synced versions and the cleaned up copies. Okay, so pay attention to that. If you open the ceremony, when you look at it, you'll notice that it's all over the board. It's not synced up, it's not cut, nothing's happened to it yet. As you look at this, it doesn't look like anything you can use at all. That's because you're not supposed to use it. You're supposed to scroll down and find the synced version, and then within the synced version, if you open the synced ceremony, that's where you'll notice it's nice and clean, it's been multi-cammed, it looks great, and you can use this to do your edit. Okay? That's going to go the same for parent dances, cake cutting, and intros and first dances. Okay? So when you look at these and you open them up, these are all going to be done and cleaned up and looking good for you. So it might be worthy of you to open up each of these so you have them in front of you for what you might need. So we're looking through here, and I've opened up cake cutting as well. So now we have all of these things opened up. In the sequences bin, you're going to find a bin, one called trailer. This is where you're going to open it. It should be blank, and this is where you're going to start building the trailer. The next part of this process is going to be selecting the correct song and then laying out the song information and figuring out how you want this layout to go. We'll take a look at that next. So understanding music and sound is extremely important to the edits that we do. You really have to have a good understanding of how the flow of music is. It's basically music theory, and selecting music is the most important part of this edit. If you selected the music correctly, you're going to have a good quality looking edit, and it's going to make your whole life a lot easier. The selecting music part can take some time. That's the one thing, is that you could spend an hour looking around music to find it, to select it. Now, if you're somebody who's passionate about video editing, there's a chance you already have a whole list of songs you'd love to edit to. But if it's not the case, then you're going to have to go out and find some music to edit to. So one of the things that we say that we don't want to work with is we don't want to work with top 40 songs. If you hear it on the radio all the time, we don't want to use it, period. If it's a song that, for example, Train, Marry Me, we never use that song. We never use basically the trendy top 40 stuff. We want to use something unique. A lot of times we will use certain artists, like Matt Kearney, for example, or there's a whole bunch of artists that, and if you look at the computer and you go into the cinema directory within the FTP, you're going to find a soundtrack music folder, and in the soundtrack music folder you're going to find a whole bunch of music that we've selected that we like and we like to look up. So for example, if you look at, let's say for example, Bride Prep, there's a whole bunch of music in here that you can see that we've chosen to use for Bride Prep during a large edit. Now, we've probably already used these songs before, so what I recommend to you is to go to our Vimeo page, I'll send you the link, and check to see which songs that we've used and haven't used. In fact, I think I may have a list and I'll send it along if you need it, but familiarize yourself with the stuff we've used and we haven't used, because we don't want to use the same song twice. We'll try to provide you a link of all the songs that we've used before so you don't have to fight too hard to find it. But anyway, this gives you some ideas to get started with. As you start to see things in Bride Prep, you see artists that we love. Things like, let's see if we can get the artist in here. Album artist. Cool. So, if you look here, there's people that we use a lot in these edits. You'll see people like Ingrid Michaelson, which we use quite a bit. Javier Colon, Ben Rector, we love Ben Rector. And trying to find Marie Hines, trying to find music by them that's similar and has the right tone to it to be able to make an edit to. So one way that we do this is we go into YouTube and we search the artist that we love. So for example, let's just say Marie Hines. We'll type in Marie Hines and we'll have some music and we'll listen to the music to try to really get a good listen to it. But this may not necessarily find us the song we're looking for. However, in the related searches column, you may find something that's different, something that really fits and it's nice. We want something that's going to be soft, something that's going to be intense, something that's going to be fairly unique and interesting to listen to. If you look here, this is a whole link of songs that are made from My Love Will Never Fail You by Marie Hines, and a whole bunch of things. So listen to these to try to find the song that you really can kind of feel the lyrics of, and really kind of get the sense of the song. So that's one chance. So we've talked about two different ways to get songs that you want to use for the edit. The first is, look, if you've got some cool songs you want to use, set them up and send them to us. The second thing is to search popular artists that we love that are unique. I mean, we don't want to use John Legend, All of Me. This song is played about 1,000 times a day on the radio. Everybody has used this song, so we just don't want to use it. We want to be more unique than that. So using songs you like, searching artists that we recommend, and finding other songs. And then the last way is there's a really tremendous filmmaking team out of Australia called Paper Cranes. They're really awesome, and they create these absolutely magnificent edits that are just so awesome, and they do a really great job of selecting songs for those edits. What we found ourselves sometimes in the past doing is actually searching and listening to their edits. They give us inspiration and also inspire us with the music that they've chosen. So feel free to go to their website and flip around some of their videos. It'll give you an idea of great editing style, and also you might find a song in there that you really like. If you combine these edits with the Shazam app on your iPhone, you should be able to listen to the edit, and the song will be selected right on your iPhone. If you're not familiar with the Shazam app, I would recommend that you Google it. Once you've chosen a song, that's one of the most difficult parts. Once you've chosen a song, you can download it from any site that you want. If you decide to pay for the song, we're happy to compensate for you. If you go to Amazon or iTunes and download it for $1 or whatever, we're happy to pay for that. If you download 5 or 6 or 7 songs as you try it, we're happy to pay for that. So don't feel like you can't download 4 or 5 or 6 different songs to try them. We'll cover it. You just let us know what you purchased and send us those song files, and we'll take care of that from there. So once you've selected the song, it's really going to be a matter of, at that point, going through the song pretty thoroughly. We'll take a look at that next. So having an idea of the type of footage that you have to work with is going to help you to narrow down the song choice that you have and really come up with a concept of how you want to edit this music, how you want to edit to the music. If you know what you have, it's a little easier for you to visualize what it is that you want to do with the edit. So what I recommend is that once you've kind of figured out a song that you might want to use, I recommend you look at the footage. So what I would do is start with bride prep, okay? And what I would do is, this is all of the footage that was clean cut out of the bride prep footage that we have. So it's only 10 minutes worth of footage. In fact, if you look, this is 10 minutes. The groom prep footage is apparently incomplete. The B-roll footage is around 7.5 minutes long. The ceremony is 25, the intros. So the bottom line is that if you were to sit and watch all of this footage all the way through, it would take you 1 hour. I'm not recommending that you do that. I'm actually recommending that you do more skimming of this stuff to see what you have, to try to visualize what it is that you can do with this edit. Okay, so skim the footage, look through it. I would suggest watching bride prep and groom prep, watching the B-roll, and then selecting some parts of the ceremony. I'd watch the speeches in their entirety. I would skip the entire introductions. I'd skim the first dance, but I'd go right to the speeches and listen to them all the way through. I would not look at the parent dances or the cake cutting, to be honest with you. They're not worth it. And I would definitely watch all of the B-roll. So go through these pretty thoroughly. It should take you about an hour. And so now if you've spent an hour looking for songs, you've spent an hour looking at the footage, you're going to be pretty ready to go to start this editing process. So one of the first things that we like to do is we like to open the film without the music if we don't have to. I mean, sometimes we do it with the music, sometimes we don't. You can sort of see it as you look through our films, and also as you look through Paper Cranes' films, what they typically do. They'll often start with something nice to open up the film. It's usually a 10, 20, 15-second piece that doesn't necessarily include the audio. So sometimes, for example, we'll go in and we'll be looking at, you know, the nice piece of this, the nice speech. So in other words, if we've looked at this speech and we find a piece in here that we really like, we'll put it ahead of the trailer. So for example, let's just say we watched this speech and we found a really cool section where Dad opens up saying something really nice about the bride and groom. We would basically cut this section of speech out and put it in the trailer to open ourselves up. A speech, the ceremony, when you look at the ceremony and you see a church ceremony, one of the things that you'll notice is they're all about the same. They all sort of have an introduction where they walk down the aisle. They have the bride and groom seeing each other for the first time. They have readings by people. We'll skip through here and show the readings. They have readings by people, and then they have readings more, you know, 1 or 2, maybe sometimes 3 readings they'll have. And then here's the critical part. They'll have the spot where the priest talks about the couple and has something nice that they say about the couple. This would be a great section to listen to be able to determine if you can use it to open up your ceremony, your trailer. So either open it with a nice piece of a speech that opens up the wedding, if you will, that opens things up, that starts talking about like, hey, you know, grateful to be here, etc., etc. Whatever is going to be the theme of the way you're going to edit, that should be the thing that you put in front of the trailer, or try to fate or start with that. Okay? The third thing you can use is you can actually sequence a small section of the bride prep and groom prep and lay it in there with the audio from that ahead of the trailer. And so these are the 3 ways that you can open up a trailer. And when you look at Paper Cranes and stuff, you're going to see it. You're going to see like a girl playing with her dog, and then, you know, the dog barking, and then all of a sudden the music will come in and it'll start to edit. Or you're going to see the best man giving a small section of the speech, and then just as soon as the small section of the speech is over, they'll start the edit. So be aware that that's pretty much how we want to take these edits, and we want to start moving forward with them. So once you've found a section, the intros, first dances, or the bride prep or groom prep, start putting it in there, and then you can start working the music. The next thing is going to be basically actual music theory, so really understanding the music that we have here. So we're going to take a look at that next. So I went ahead and I looked through this entire edit, and I did exactly what I suggested that you guys do, and that is I went through the speeches. I briefly went through, it only took me about maybe 25 minutes or so. I briefly skimmed through the speeches to kind of get an idea of what they talked about. I skimmed through the bride prep and didn't find any sequence that I could really start with. I then skimmed through the ceremony, went right to the section that I was talking about where the priest speaks specifically about them, and I found something that I could use. So what I did was I used the C tool, typed the letter C, and it brought up this razor tool. I held shift when I used it, and it sliced the track all the way down. I waited to the very end of what he was saying that I wanted to use as my intro, and I used the C tool with the shift again, and I grabbed, and I sliced it down. Then I grabbed all this footage, Control C for copy, and then I pasted it into this here, okay? So basically what I did was I took the intro and I brought it in. Now, what I'll do from here is I will kind of clean up the audio. Obviously, the enabled track here is the clean audio. As I've listened to the audio, I found that there was some, it really needed some mixing. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to enable the camera audio for one of these cameras. Maybe not this one. I'll go after like this one, for example. And then what I'll do is I'll get rid of the rest of these audio pieces because I don't really need them, and I got to keep this sort of short. So I'll pull these pieces in. The next thing I'll do is I'll listen, and I'll level this audio down so that I've got some good mixing. And so I'll listen for a few seconds here.
Each of you.
Okay. So obviously that echoing is coming from the blue camera, which is the cam audio. So we're going to bring the gain down like -15.
It's a very, very special.
Okay. And then I'm going to add a little bit of gain to the green audio. Maybe go up to 5. I want to make sure that my audio is set about 60%, so I can.
Each of you has a very, very special relationship with Rob and him.
Okay. So I'm getting a little bit of the mixing of the camera audio as well as the clean audio, and I've got this section pretty well set and ready to go. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my song. So the song that I chose to work with today is called Breathe In, Breathe Out by Matt Kearney. Let's kick it here, and this is a song that is pretty easy to analyze and sort of get a vision for what it is that we want to try to do here. So I'm going to drag this down to the track, and basically the next step is going to be to really outline the audio as best as possible. Now in outlining the audio, what I like to do is I like to listen to the song several times over. I'll listen to the song maybe 4, 5, 6 times so that I can pre-visualize in my head what I want this to look like. Because every song has its changes in tempo. It also has its crescendo. Crescendo being the high point of the song where it's really peaking and you can use your most dramatic pieces of footage. It has its changes in tone, and we want to be able to look at these, hear them, analyze them, and then lay out where this stuff goes. So when we're listening to this song, you can hear the changes in tempo. So right there is a transition. So the beginning part, the first 20 or so seconds, is the part where you can hear the sort of the audio from the guitar, and then what you can hear is him start to say breathe in, breathe out. Now, just that part right there is a transitional part, and so when you bring in your footage, you probably want to bring it in on him doing that, or you might put a big piece of footage. Really, it captivates the audience when they see a very dramatic piece of footage in a transition in tempo. So breathe in, breathe out. So perhaps in the beginning here we're going to use, if we are electing to start this with the song here, perhaps in the beginning we're going to use 2 or 3 or 4 little clips of details before we actually see the bride for the first time in this edit. So, you could imagine, if you would, that there were details here. Right, little video clips of details. You get that from the B-roll. And then this would be the spot where you'd see the bride for the first time. So what I like to do is I like to listen to the song many times to start to outline how I want this edit to look. And then what I do is I start to create a new folder, a new bin, and I call that titles, okay? And really there's a better name for this, probably titles, probably trailer titles, okay? And what I do with these is I go into trailer titles and I create new titles. So I'll say, for example, details, and I'll name it details. The title is details. I won't actually put a title in, but what I'll do is now I can drag the title in and I can lengthen it to the amount of space I want to use for the details. So now what we're going to do is create a new title, and we're going to call this Bride Prep. Okay? So now I can go ahead and I can drag in bride prep, and I can listen to the song and figure out how much of this I want to use of bride prep. Okay? So what I'm basically doing is I'm selecting the areas that I want to basically put my footage, and I'm really laying out an outline of what it is that I want to use. What we're going to do after we have all this laid in is we're going to actually go into B-roll, groom prep, and bride prep, select pieces of footage that fit within that space, and start to put them in so that you can actually just follow along by using pieces. So I'm going to watch this, and I'm going to figure out a good another transition point to go to groom prep.
Then breathe out, tell me all of your doubt. And everybody bleeds this way, just the same. Breathe in, breathe out, move on and break down. If everyone goes away, I will stay.
So I mean, just the introduction of a whole nother instrument here is a great change in tempo. So this might be a cool spot to introduce groom prep. So right here.
I will stay. We push and pull today.
Okay. So I'm going to create a new item, a title, and we're going to call it groom prep. Okay. I'm going to drag that down, and we're going to go to groom prep again.
We push and pull, and I fall down sometimes. And I'm not letting go. You hold the other line.
So this is a huge peak. Like, this is a nice dramatic increase in footage. Now, this is going to be a part where we're not going to want to put, bland footage. We're going to want to put our best footage in these spots. So, watching this, you're going to want to find a way to even possibly transition back to bride prep really quickly to do a very important piece of bride prep here. Or possibly do a little what we call time warping. We may even go like this and say, create a title called First Dance. Or photo time video. If you'd watch this video, you'll actually find that we did a little video sequence of the two of them out during photo time. So this could be a great time to go from groom prep and then time warp back to them actually walking towards each other and coming together during photo time. So this is a good time to do what we call a time warp. You're going to follow linear through the bride prep, a little bit of groom prep, and then you may bounce right back to this moment in time, show a few clips of it, and then as the song starts to die down again, you go back to bride prep or groom prep. So right there. So now what we're going to do is maybe go back to bride prep and show a little bit more of bride prep until there's a change in tone.
Hold on, hold tight from out of your sight, and everything keeps moving on, moving on. Hold on, hold tight, make it through another night, and every day there comes a song with the dawn.
Okay, here's another change in tempo. We may finish up groom prep here and start to transition. As you can see, if you've listened to this song and have a vision for it, you'll note that there's a small section here where the audio goes down a little bit, and then this is your major, there's a huge crescendo, and this should be the build to everything that you're working towards. So you're sort of teasing them a little photo time footage, and then you're going to tease them again a little photo time footage, and then at the end you're really going to bring in all of the best footage that you have. We're talking about glide cam introductions, we're talking about coming down the aisle, we're talking about doing their first dance together, all the greatest footage of them doing their first dance, really trying to create this glorious edit and putting the best piece of footage in this space in here. Okay, so this is really what this is all about, is taking them and making these things very, very dramatic. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at this. This is how I would lay the whole thing out and really pre-visualize how the whole thing is going to come together. It would help me a lot to have watched the footage and know what I have, and then go ahead and start to lay everything out. So the other thing that you want to be keeping in mind is when it comes to actually putting some of these speeches in here. So you opened with this guy saying this thing.
You has a very, very special relationship with God and the two of you have a very special relationship with every person in this church. Every person is touched your heart. The two of you touched all the hearts.
Okay. So what I did there, notice what I did, I actually shifted the audio in so that the song track comes in just as he's saying the last part of his words. We want to keep these nice organic transitions. You don't want it to be a hard cut and you really want it to flow nicely. And if that means I have to come in here and amp his audio up and get a little bit more gain out of that, maybe go with like an 8. If that means I've got to use the pen tool to transition and drop down this audio so it comes in a little without as much. He just says for all these people extremely, extremely low. So we just kind of have to get in here and, you know, give him a big jump in gain to, let's just say, like 18. So again, this is a little something that you can do to sort of just make the edit as best as it can be. So running through this whole section, what we would have eventually ended up with is all these titles that lay out all this stuff. Keep in mind, we've started with this guy talking, so we really don't want to just have that be the last time we see him, because that doesn't really make any sense. So we want to find another section inside of the ceremony that he continues to talk, and we want to place those sporadically throughout the edit. Now, it's extremely important that you realize that putting these audio pieces and these cutaways, if you will, in this section, you should do them during the low parts of the song, not the peaks. If you listen, you'll notice.
Breathe out, move on and break down.
This is a very sort of low part of the song. This is a great spot to put the people talking in the speeches. This is not. This right here is not.
In your eyes,
If you put speech or audio during this section, you've denied yourself one of the best parts of this song. If you go in here and put speeches, then you're failing. You're really not doing it. This is where the speeches belong. It belongs right in here.
look left, look right to the moon and
Nice and low. You can bring this audio down even more and really end the speech right here, and then just... So, you know, that's how it happens. This is how you put the whole thing together. And then at the very end, you want to transition with some form of really closing out the edit nicely. You can even bring in the end of him speaking or his congratulations to them. You should use some of the speeches, so you're probably going to use those in here somewhere. Really kind of laying the whole thing out and really doing it this way. So a lot of times what you'll end up seeing is titles and then say ceremony, speech, if you will. I don't, what you title it really doesn't matter, just so long as you know what you're talking about. And you see two titles in here like this. So basically, we're going to see bride prep for a start, and then we're going to bring in the ceremony speeches, okay? So this is how we basically start building an edit and put it together. And then once you have all this stuff laid out, you can actually bring these down to the same line and use them as a baseline for where you're going to start putting footage. I end up locking these tracks a lot of times. And then what I can do is I can actually, so I wouldn't lock these four. What I can start doing is I can start bringing in bride prep footage. So here it is. So grab a section, control copy, and then come in here during bride prep, control paste. And then what I'll do is I'll actually watch through it, come in here and drop this audio way down. So audio gain should be set to like -15. Okay? And what I'll do is I'll watch the clips, and then I'll start to delete stuff that I don't need. So we can delete this section here, delete that section, and then we're going to drag this all back. So I don't need the double clip there. I could use this clip here if I wanted to. This is where you get to be creative and start to put stuff in where it belongs. Okay? Yeah, this was actually pretty horribly called, but that's okay. So when you start to look at it,
tell me all of your doubt. And everybody bleeds this way, just the same.
okay? And then you know, obviously I may bring in the ceremony speeches, but you can see here how laying it out and knowing what you have for space, I already know I need 2 or 3 more clips to fit in this bride prep section, and I need to add a whole ceremony speech in here, and I know how much groom prep I need. And so by putting these titles in and laying it out for me, all I really do at that point is copy and paste. And as I copy and paste the stuff in, I can delete the stuff I don't need. You know, I would go through bride prep pretty thoroughly and find nice sequences and sections. Now you're also going to need to reorder these clips. It's not always that we want these to be in the order they came to, and that's where the creative part comes in. Is sometimes this clip would look better with this clip. So you look at this here and say, this should go out of order, and these 2 clips belong together. So I mean, however it needs to go, these 3 clips could go together. Okay? And then you could go in here, so that this looks better this way. And honestly, this piece of whatever this footage is probably needs to be different. But nonetheless, that's where your job comes in, is coming in and actually laying these things out in a great way. Once you've laid all this stuff out, then we start to really kind of clean things up by dropping audio down, using the pen tool, P for the pen tool, and dropping these out, and then making the audio what it is. I will run through this edit probably 4 or 5 times, watching it over again, and cleaning up things that I don't like visually from it, and fixing up the audio. It usually takes me 6 hours to put one of these together, so it shouldn't be that long. If you follow the steps, you follow the rules, you should be pretty good to go.